Good morning, Coach.
Morning. How are you?
Good. Hung in there yesterday. Chance to win that game at the end?
Yeah, I would say overall I thought the guys went out there and played the way that we wanted to play. The execution started to waver a little bit in critical situations. But when you look at the stat sheet and, to really be 2-1 as far as time of possession, they went out there and tried to do the right thing. And unfortunately, we didn't walk away with the win.
Jerod, I would imagine the one thing that has to be very difficult as a head coach is always the second question. And maybe the next day you're able to look and say, all right, would have did things differently. My question is not about the field goal. The penalty at the end on the punt, when you guys elected to add the 5 yards on and got the ball at the 10-yard line, why wouldn't you decline and have them repunt? Maybe kicks it in the end zone, you get better field position. Can you take me a little bit through your mindset?
No, it's a great question. I would say, just how you said, maybe it goes in the end zone. To me, to give a punter another opportunity to back you up, to be inside of the 10 is a huge problem. And so decided to take the yards.
Why not kick the field goal?
Which one?
Early in that game, the 55-yarder or whatever it was.
Look, there are multiple reasons. As we go through the game, I'm sure we'll talk about some of the other decisions that I made during the game. It's easy to say, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? But I would say ultimately, I have to make those decisions. And look, when I was a player, there were oftentimes decisions made where I was disappointed. When I was a coach, a position coach, there were oftentimes that I wish the decision went the other way. And as a head coach, you actually have to make those decisions and live with the repercussions, like sitting up here with you guys asking me all these questions.
Drake's decision-making was pretty good in this one, but that interception at the end, he said he and Pop Douglas were on different pages.
That's right.
Is that just Drake as a rookie learning from mistakes, or do you put that on Pop as well?
No, look, one thing about Drake, he always takes responsibility, and I appreciate that about him. And the same thing, we're both going through this together. When I say we, I'm talking about Drake and myself. I'm a rookie head coach. He's a rookie player, and we're going to learn through these experiences. And they definitely run on the same page.
Jerod, I would just ask about not the field goal specifically, but with this team, where you were, you're 3-7 entering that game. What's there to lose from being a little bit more aggressive?
Yeah, we're always trying to win the football game, and I'm always going to make decisions that I believe will help us win those games.
But doesn't it show more of a belief either in the kicker or the fourth and what was it, the 2-yard line? You got the field goal at the fourth quarter. Is that a situation maybe you get to see what Maye does with this offense, show confidence in him to get a touchdown?
I have nothing but confidence in our coaches. I have nothing but confidence in the players that are out there on the field. And, again, tactically, it goes back to, I'm doing what I believe is best for the football team.
Speaking of confidence, Kendrick Bourne sat last week. Looked like he was very motivated out there yesterday. Is that kind of what you wanted to try to accomplish there?
Yeah, 100%. The game prior didn't play at all, and to go out there yesterday shows what he's made of. The mental toughness, the energy, the going out there and making plays, and it's good to see.
Jerod, one of the things we kind of talked about is, especially defensively, it's kind of been that up and down, the inconsistencies. I have a great week last week. You get after the quarterback, you do some things. This week there's some struggles there. What do you think maybe could be leading to some of the inconsistency, especially defensively? Because I think we all had high expectations for the defense headed into the season.
Yeah, I'm not going to get into, the players we had at week one compared to here. We always have that next man up mentality. And look, my expectation of our defense is to always go out there and perform at a high level, which we have over, I would say we have at times in the season. And it goes back to consistency, and we just got to be better.
Looking back at it, any of those specifically on defense, any of those calls, the zero blitz or whatever, is that too aggressive when it comes to this team?
Maybe, but at the same time, if it was a sack, everyone would have been okay. and that's the game. But seriously, that's the game that we play, and it's 100% on me.
Jonathan Jones taking accountability after he took to Twitter to say, I owe the New England Patriots better than today. Keep grinding. Is that something you like to see out of him, or what was off for him yesterday?
Look, John Jones is one of our best leaders in that locker room. I know he's not a captain, but he is in my eyes, and that's what it's about. Once you get the team to the point where they understand where they've messed up on the field, you're at a good place. The same thing, when I started coaching in 2019, we had a great room of backers, smart guys that I actually played with, and you have guys that know when they messed up. And the other side of that is when you have players out there that don't know what they messed up, and that's more difficult. And I look at that from a team-wide perspective too.
So is that a situation like you know, and again, we're watching the game, we're not there, so your perspective may be different, but you got that Polk penalty, kills you on that drive at the end of the game, and then he's coming off the field kind of looking like he's not necessarily frustrated with himself.
Well, I mean, look, he's frustrated, and that's part of the maturation process too for a guy like Polk. That's the difference between, let's just say, a younger guy and a veteran player in this league. Like, the younger guys are still trying to understand holistically what needs to be done, especially in critical situations.
With the receiver,
do you want him to like throw his helmet down? I'm asking, like, do you want him to throw his helmet and show that type of frustration?
I feel like he's been, and you actually alluded to this pretty early on in the season with us, where some of these guys talk a lot and haven't necessarily let their play talk for them. So I
would say from a team-wide perspective, it's about accountability. It's about action. It's not about talk. And I've always stood on that.
I mean, I just would say that receiver position as a whole on the organization shouldn't be talking at all. I mean, it's been awful. I mean, by and large, the amount of times that Drake Maye has thrown passes right on the money, hitting the hands of a receiver, and the receiver doesn't come down with it. If I'm him and I see players getting mad at anything but themselves, I'd be frustrated.
That's right. No, I agree. I mean, what that looks like, it's up to the individual. Some players, they get so emotional, they throw things. Other players go into a shell. Other players respond the right way on to the next play. So that's the way he handled it. But again, on that play, I mean, the frustrating thing about that false start play, in my mind, like 100% is going to be a touchdown. And, we have to learn from that. Not only Polk, but myself as well, all of us. We have to learn from those mistakes.
Right.
And that's what the NFL is. Mm-hmm. The NFL, like, it's not like, you're playing UT Chattanooga. You're not playing those types of teams, but it comes down to a handful of plays. And I tell the guys all the time, like, I don't have a crystal ball to be able to sit here and tell you what play it's going to be. So that's why you have to go out there and play with tremendous effort and execution on a down-after-down basis.
The thing I'll give you credit for is somebody who sits here and watches and knowing, because I've been in that locker room before. I don't think you've ever been there where you've been on a team that didn't have you had a losing record, and guys can tend to give up, not play hard. But the one thing I've noticed is even though they're struggling or whatever and not making plays, it's still guys are playing hard. They're going balls to the wall. Do you feel like that's something from turning the tape on that you've noticed, is that these guys are still giving it their all?
Yeah, 100%. And I'm very appreciative of it. It's easy to pack it up and think about next year. These guys are present. And I tell them all the time, like, let's stay present. You look back, like, oh, well, back in the day, that leads to depression. You look forward too far, and that leads to anxiety. And these guys have been present. They've been where their feet are, and that's the expectation from me. And on the players, I would say from the captains, that's their expectation.
Giving it their all, though, you watched that game yesterday, and there were a lot of missed tackles. And as a defensive guy, is that like you got to go back to fundamentals? Because as a fan watching the game, you wonder if it's an effort thing.
Yeah. That speaks differently than what he just said.
Right.
He sees the effort. You don't see the effort. I would say the fundamentals of tackling, it is part effort. It's also part technique. And so it was disappointing as a defensive coach.
We've talked about this throughout the year, and there's been plenty of coaches who talked about it. Because of, obviously, the new rules in the NFL, it's difficult to work on tackling. So how do you try to work on the technique element of it when you can't always be in full – like, I've never tackled anybody, so I'm asking as somebody who came from a different world where we tackled all the time, how do you try to teach the technique knowing that it's a lot difficult when it's just soft shells and helmets?
Yeah, we start in the spring, talking about entry angles and things like that. And then, obviously during training camp, we have multiple opportunities to work on tackling. At this point in the season, you would hope to have your sword sharpened enough in the fundamental area that those plays don't show up. But like you said, it did show up yesterday, and we got to do a better job.
Add Sean McVay to the list of those who are gushing about Drake Maye and where he is at now, development-wise. You might be able to help me stop Wiggy because he's a broken record on this. How much of his development, where he is now, do you put on the making the right decision to sit him for the first 5 weeks?
I mean, that's for you guys to sit here and debate about. You could see the other quarterbacks in the league, the first-round guys, and I'm sure you guys could debate about those as well.
Mm-hmm.
There was a point in the season where everyone was like, oh, all these teams made the right decision, and now they're looking back at it like, oh, maybe we should have sat them. And then vice versa. You know, our record right now, obviously, is not where we want to be, but the other side is, well, we should have started in the first game. So, like, that's for you guys to sit here and talk about, not me. I feel good about – I will say this. I feel good about – the trajectory that he's going at. I would also say, as you guys continue to, or I shouldn't say you guys, as people continue to be excited, which it is exciting to have a quarterback go out there and play like that, we need to continue to manage our expectations and realize that he is a rookie quarterback. And hopefully he continues on this trajectory, because that will help us become a good football team.
There were some reports this week that the organization was calling around asking for the best way to develop a young quarterback. Is that
yet we sit here and say he's developing at a good trajectory? I mean,
So
could we all agree on that?
Yeah.
All right. So, like, all those reports are false.
they're all false?
They're all false.
None of those
reports are true.
None of those reports are true. Okay.
And if they, but the thing about it, once again, like, it's almost like talking out of both sides of our mouths. Like, we're sitting here saying, like, he's developing great, and then they sit here and the story come out that people are asking around how to develop a quarterback. It's like, I mean, things like that. Look, I'll take bullets and all. I shouldn't say bullets. I'll take all the shots and all that stuff in regards to our record, our team, our development. That's fine. That's part of being a head coach. The one thing that being a head coach, I need to make sure I do a good job protecting our coordinators, our coaches, and also the players on the field. And so when you hear one person, oh, you know, Drake's not developing, another person, oh, well, Drake's had a great play. It's like, who do you think's responsible for that? It's Alex Van Pelt. He's responsible for that. And so why even call around to ask how to develop a quarterback? Yet everyone in the New England area, you just said Sean McVay included on the West Coast, is like, hey, this guy's developing at a good rate, and he's going to be a good football player in this league.
Yeah.
That to me is the frustrating piece of
John Gruden
some
said
of the
it.
stuff.
When you heard that report,
What did John Gruden say?
Say he's going to be a great quarterback. He's looking like he's headed in the right direction.
Yet calls go out.
Yeah. So my
Well,
question,
calls don't go out. People say the calls went out because you're saying
Same
that they
thing.
did.
Who's- It's false.
Okay, it's false. Okay.
So my question is, so when
And who
Albert
made the calls?
Albert Breer reported it,
And I love Albert Breer. I do.
yeah. But so my
Well, he said it was the Crafts. That
right.
That were
So
called.
my question to you, Jerod, is: so Albert Breer reports that. Do you talk to Robert and Jonathan and say, is this true?
We have open lines of communication. This is not true.
And so, do you take it as a shot at you that they're reporting that?
I mean, look, that's up to you to decide. I don't look at it as a shot towards me. Look, I have a good relationship with ownership. I have a good relationship with our coaches, unnamed sources, and all that stuff. I mean, it is what it is.
On to Miami and traveling down there. Traditionally, a tough place for this team to play.
Yeah, it is a tough place, and going back to the expectation is that we're going to go out there and play hard. It's not like playing in Miami in the summertime.
Yeah.
It'll be welcome weather.
Yeah.
Jerod, how do you manage that, like knowing that there's so many things that come out and are said, and like, how do you manage that as a coach, as somebody, a leader of this team, and getting players to understand that a lot of that nonsense, I didn't buy it, because I just think it's a bad look when you're trying to. No, I'm dead.
He did.
When you're trying to have a head coach who's doing a job, but yet you're calling around, like, I didn't buy it. But how do you try to manage, like, all the whispers and stuff, like knowing that potentially guys could be hearing it and trying to make sure that they're not buying into it?
Yeah, to me, it's leadership 101. Ignoring the noise. Like, we're in the clouds right now. We're trying to build something special, and everyone wants the curtains to be put up before the foundation is laid. And my job is to sit here and take these comments and critical comments, which I'm fine with, but also to build a foundation for not only today but for the future.
All right, Coach.
Oh, I was just going to say, back to the Miami game, because you guys have already played them once. How much can you take from that first matchup with them? Obviously, it's going to look a lot different with Tua.
Yeah, it's going to look a lot different. I would say schematically it's pretty similar, and so we just got to go out there and play a good football game.